Majora's Mask, but Link is a pacifist. Kind of. Welcome back everyone. Since the first video did so well, here we are back with another. This time I felt it fitting to tackle Ocarina of Time's own little brother, Majora's Mask. Also, remember when I said this last video? I honestly can't wait for them to finish with the Majora's Mask one, it looks incredible. Yeah, well, turns out it was already out. I will warn you though, I'm using version 1.1 in this video because playing 1.2 was, well, you can see for yourself. That's not to say there aren't some issues with the older version, but it was easier for me to record. So with that said, let's get into it. If you haven't seen the first video, first of all, why not? Go and watch that one. You watched it? Great. I'll quickly go over the rules again for those who need a recap, or for those people who have these types of videos on in the background. Get to studying or whatever. Link cannot kill a single enemy unless he absolutely has to. If he hits an enemy and it can be killed, I will count this as a kill as well. Link must collect all 4 remains in order to get to Majora, and finally, no glitches in this run. Majora's Mask glitches especially get wild. I'm looking at you, 4th day glitch. With all that said, let's begin. So the first cycle begins, and really there's not much to say. I restore the Great Fairy, get the Moon Tear, and confront Skull Kid atop the clock tower in the middle of town. I shoot a bubble at him and get the Ocarina back. Then Force Echo Zelda reteaches me the Song of Time, and I return to the start of the 3 days. I return to the Masked Salesman and he teaches me the Song of Healing to turn me back to normal. After exiting the clock tower, I play the inverted Song of Time to slow time down and head to Woodfall. When entering the southern swamp, I head towards the woods nearby this potion shop, and a monkey leads me through the lost woods. The Woods of Mystery, to find Kuome, who was attacked by the Skull Kid. I return to the potion shop and tell Kotaki what's happening. She gives me a red potion which I then give to Kuome, which revives her, and she offers me a free cruise down the river. This is all relevant because I need to get past this big octo at this entrance. I tried for ages to get past him, but unfortunately nothing was working without needing to use glitches. I even tried to get past this one near the boat cruise's hut. So the only way to get past him is to use a boat cruise which stabs him in the face. I'm not sure whether this counts or not, because I'm not piloting the boat, I'm just a passenger, but I was the one who was wanting to go on it, but also it would have been used at some point anyway, so it's a huge grey area. So because of that, I'm just going to put it down as an accident and move on. The next challenge came at the Deku Palace. I sneak through the palace guards to enter this hole to buy a bean from this guy, and fill the bottle with spring water. I exit the palace, and travel along the side to plant the bean and grow this plant. Then I use the platform to reach this upper area, and here's where the issue started. I have to get around these Deku Scrubs. Normally you just kill them and take their flower that they're sitting in, but I was sure I could do it without needing to kill them. And with the luckiest hit ever, I managed to get past. This monkey teaches me the Minuet of Forest, the Awakening Sonata, and I get kicked out. I now have to head to Woodfall Temple. Oh my god, these dragonflies. I hate these guys so much. I might even hate them more than the sculpture does. Honestly, they're so annoying. Just watch. And to top it all off, this guy shows up again.
Why is he here?
Really? He does teach me the Song of Soaring though, which is actually the most useful thing he's ever done, so maybe I've underestimated him. Nah, I don't think I have. Moving on, in order to get to the temple, I have to get past these hip loops and Deku Scrubs. which apparently was harder than breaking into the Tower of London. During all this, I had to kill 2 Deku Scrubs to get to this platform. From here, I play the Sonata of Awakening and I can enter Woodfall Temple. I made my way through the first 3 rooms, grabbing this key and making my way over to this door. I used the key on this door and then realised I made a huge mistake. I don't have a Deku Stick, and you need a Deku Stick to burn the cobweb on the platform above. So instead of buying one like a rational person, I went searching and I managed to find one in this grass patch next to the owl statue in Southern Swamp. I burned the cobweb and went upstairs.
Okay, this part is going to be... I'm going to take a lot of damage. There's one on the other end. Actually...
That went better than I thought it would have done. Now there's more dragonflies to deal with. Kill me. After pressing this switch, I enter this room which has a Dynafalce in it. I do have to kill him because he's guarding the hero spell. And so, he is our official first kill of the run. Good for him! I use the bow to shoot this eye and use the flower to make my way over to the other side. Then I have to fight this gecko and its snapper? Definitely not a turtle. Now to be honest, I'm not sure whether to count the gecko as a kill or not, because after you defeat him, he turns into a frog, and so technically you don't actually kill him. It's similar to the Gerudo pirates in Ocarina of Time, and so I think I'm gonna treat it the same way. The turtle though? Oh yeah, he's dead. I get the boss key, and then use the bow to shoot these 2 torches. And now I entered the worst room in this dungeon for this challenge. I'm just gonna let you watch.
Seriously, like, what? Why? What's the point?
Yep. I also killed that dragonfly, so I had to reset. Thankfully, after all that, there is just a Dorwa to deal with. I get his remains, and the giant teaches me the Oath to Order, and I make my way to Snowhead. Before I did, however, I stopped off at Clocktown to save the old woman from being robbed, because she will give me the blast mask. Outside of town, I use the bow to break this ice. I then make my way through the snow and use the blast mask to blow open this snowball. I then headed to Goron village. Once there, I make my way over to him, and he makes a path for me to cross over to the cave in the far distance to get the Lens of Truth. After making it back over, I literally talk to dead people and follow this Goron back to the gravesite on top of this ladder. I then use a Song of Healing to turn him into a mask. Wait, what? With that mask, I can now turn into a Goron. Yay? I pull the grave backwards to open a hot spring and use my bottle to get some hot spring water. Then on my way to the Goron village, I use it to melt this bit of ice here. I then entered the Goron shrine, and... this kid is crying because his dad hasn't come back. I ended up finding him in the snowball and encased in ice. Definitely not alive. Inside this hole I opened earlier is some more hot spring water, and so I use it to melt him free. He's alive! He teaches me the Goron's lullaby. Or at least, part of it. Oh well, it will have to do. When playing it to the kid, he will finish off the song and put every single Goron to sleep. That is one powerful song. Now with the temple song in hand, I head to Snowhead Temple. Outside the temple, there is a huge gust of wind coming from the temple's direction. By playing the Goron lullaby, it's revealed that a massive Goron is sat there and causing the wind. Why? Isn't the entire reason they're in this mess because there's an eternal winter coming from the temple, and yet this guy's blocking it, so... I'm not figuring that out. Someone else's issue. Anyway, he goes to sleep. He's fine, I promise. You can see him outside the temple after you finish it, and I can use the Goron roll and make my way up the slope and into Snowhead Temple. Starting off, I push this block and avoid this Wolfos and these bows. I roll across this bridge, dodging the freezards, and head into the main room. I make my way through the next few rooms, grabbing this key and opening this door. I use a blast mask to open this wall and then make my way through the following rooms. Then I cross this bridge to open this door which leads to a room with a wizrobe in it. I defeat him and get the fire arrows.
I then use the fire arrows to get into this green door.
I then use them to light this torch and use a deku stick to light the other 2 torches while also avoiding more freezers. I do a sick jump to make it into this room and use the Goron to press this switch down. This makes the platform in the middle rise. I then spent way longer than I'd like to admit trying to remember what to do next. After breaking 2 ice layers, I finally remembered by going up this staircase there is an eye switch that you need to use the fire arrows for to make this platform rise. By standing to the side I can shoot the eye without having to kill the freezer and have just enough time to get onto the platform. I then use the arrows to melt this ice and make my way up the stairs and break the other 2 ice layers. Then I made my way back up the slope, through these snowballs and up to the top of the temple. From there I use the deku to get to this platform and open this door to find that there's another wizrobe I have to kill. I kill him and get the boss key. I can then go and fight Goat. S up the butt! Up the thing! I get his remains and Spring returns to the mountains. I go and talk to the big Oron down this slope to get the powder keg and license. I take the powder keg to this rock and blow it up. That allows me to take part in the Goron race, which I do want to do in order to get another bottle, which is absolutely necessary for reasons you'll see.
Rubber band AI me, come on, I played enough Mario Kart, I know how this works. Off. Oh, that's cheating, Colin Hacks. Come on. No, I think it was second.
I now head back to Clocktown to sell the gold dust to the curiosity shop owner. When I arrived, it wasn't open, so I spent a bit of time farming money to give to the bank owner so when I sold the gold dust, he could give me the adult's wallet. After that, I made my way to Milk Road to get Epona. I fast forward time to make it the morning of the final day, and then remembered Romani can't give you Epona on the final day, so I reset time. It was then I realised I reset time without getting the license. Why? While I was there though, I went into the trading post to buy a red potion. Then I went to go get the license and use it to blow up the rock on Milk Road to get into Romani Ranch.
That is the most majestic pose I've ever seen Link do.
When talking to Romani, she talks about an alien invasion and asks if I will help her. I agree and she gives me a little test to blow up 10 balloons while riding Epona, who is in a pen. I absolutely crush it and she teaches me Epona's song. Well, good luck with your aliens because I've got a moon to stop. Bye! Before I leave, I stop by the Gorman brothers to race them. After I win, they give me the Garo's mask. I then headed to Ikana Canyon to talk to this guard. I cure him with a red potion and he gives me the stone mask. This mask allows you to be invisible to some enemies and is very useful to have for the rest of the game. Now I can finally head to Great Bay. Once in Great Bay, I see Azora in the sea and I push him to the shore. Even though he's literally on death's door, this man has enough energy to whip out his guitar and play for me and tell me his life story. I return by playing the Song of Healing, and he turns into a mask. Again. So long, my friend. Oh my god, look at these swimming controls. Mwah! 10 out of 10. Game of the year, every year. Nintendo, you've done it. I make my way over to Zora Cape where I can activate the Sound statue to save myself a bit of time. I now head towards the pirate fortress which is behind this wooden board. Once inside, I can use a stone mask to avoid being seen by the Gerudo pirates. I press this switch and make my way through the underground areas to reach this platform outside. From here, I can make my way into the main part of the fortress. I head up the ladder in the middle and across this bridge. I take a picture of a Gerudo. Trust me, it makes sense, I'm not just being weird. I then overhear some pirates talking about some big treasure in Great Bay Temple. Oh well, I don't really care, so here's some wasps or summer. I can then access the room they were in and get the hook shot. And here's why I got as many bottles as I can. There are 4 eggs in the pirate fortress, and so without that second bottle, I would have to have made 4 trips to this place, which is so painful, and I'm not doing it. And I hear you saying, oh, I could just go get the 3rd bottle from the beavers at the top of the waterfall, right? And honestly, I wish I would have done, because it would have saved so much trouble. Anyway, before each room with an egg past this point is a fight with a Gerudo. And this is the exact same fight as in Ocarina of Time, so I'm not counting them towards the total. I get the 2nd egg and head back to the lab to put them in the tank that he set up for them. I return to the fortress and get the 3rd egg. After being absolutely shredded alive, I hunt down the final egg and place them in the lab. The other 3 eggs are located in Pinnacle Rock, and in order to get there in the first place I need to get this seahorse from this guy. He says he'll only trade it for a photo of a Gerudo pirate. Creepy. Ugh. Anyway, erasing that from my memory, I go to Pinnacle Rock, release the seahorse, and he shows me the way across this hidden path. From there is a massive trench with a bunch of caves along the walls of it. Inside there are these massive sea snakes which are guarding the last 3 eggs. Unfortunately, there's no way to get around them, and so the 3 snakes must be killed. I get the final 3 eggs and place them in the tank. They then teach me the new wave bossa nova, which I can then play for Lulu, the mother of the eggs, in order to awake a massive turtle which gives me access to the 3rd dungeon. Once in Great Bay, I make my way to the main room of the dungeon and I swim down this pathway in the wall. In the following room, I get the dungeon map and do some sneaky manoeuvres with these 2 Dexy hands blocking the way. I do this by aiming for the corner so they couldn't grab me and I could get past. In the next room, I collected the compass and just barely snagged this key from another Dexy hand before it RKOs me across the room like a WWE wrestler. I made my way to the bottom of the dungeon and followed this red pipe into this room. From there, I made my way along the pipe and just barely dodged this bomb tube before making it into the next room. Following this, I then entered a mini-boss room. This is Wart, and in order to kill him, you have to destroy these bubbles that he's attached to. Again, similar to Baronade and Ocarina of Time, I'm going to count these as one enemy because they are attached to him and kind of act like part of his body. Anyway, after killing him, I now have some ice arrows, and unlike Ocarina of Time, they're actually useful. I can then use the ice arrows to freeze this Octorok to make it up to this platform to move this switch, and allow water to move through the pipes. And by the way, this doesn't kill or hurt him, I checked. He's fine, look at him. I use the arrows in the dungeon map and make it into this room. I then have to freeze a choo-choo in order to climb up to this platform and push another switch. Then once in this room I use the arrows again and then melt this ice block blocking this door. Inside is another gecko, so I deal with him and get the boss key. I head back to the beginning of the dungeon and use the 2 switches in there to reverse the flow of the water. Having done that, I go back to the main room and freeze this waterfall and climb the ladder to get into this room. Inside is... I use the ice arrows to make it over to this green switch to turn on the water flow in the green pipes. I follow the green pipe in the main room and come across this room. I freeze the water which stops this turning mechanism which allows me to make it to the next room. I then have to use my arrows to melt and freeze these waterfalls in order to make it to another green switch. I can then go to the next door which leads me back to the dungeon map room. From there I can head to the bottom of the main room, follow the pipe in this room and push this final green switch before making it to Gaiog. Yog. I'm calling him Gaiog, I don't care. After making the most graceful fall ever, I use my arrows and Zoromask to defeat Gaiog. 3 down, 1 to go. After this, I went back to Clocktown, deposited my rupees and headed to Ikana Valley. Using Epona across these fences and... okay, I have to talk about the elephant in the room. Or more accurately, the bomb chew in the room. They show up a lot after the Great Bay Temple and I'm not really sure where to put them in terms of this list. The way they work is that they see you and then charge after you and then they blow up on contact. But if they don't manage to hit you then they blow up anyway. And there's no real way to avoid them, but also I'm not actually attacking them so I don't know whether to include them as a kill. It's the same situation as the bubble in Jabu Jabu's belly where, spoilers, one ran into me and I didn't count it. So should I not count it here? I don't really know. Let me know what you guys think. Anyway, moving on, I equip the Gyro's mask which gets this guy on the cliff to summon a tree for me. Not sure how he does it, but oh well. I hookshot onto the tree and then freeze these Octoroks to make it to the main area of Ikana Canyon. I activate the owl statue and then head to Ikana Graveyard. I use the Sonata of Awakening to fight Captain Kita in order to get the Captain's mask. This took me several attempts to do. I wanted to make sure he didn't make it too far because every firewall spawns 2 stall children to fight. So in order to minimise casualties, I had to use a bow to stall him, then kill these 2 stall children, and then keep stalling him so I can catch up before 2 spawn. I defeat him, and he doesn't die. Yeah, there's this big monologue about the war, and it's a very personal cutscene, but I'm sat here thinking, oh my god, does this count as a kill? And I can feel the sweat coming down my face as I hear the comments on the video. So no, I've decided I'm not going to count this guy on the list because he yields to me, and then he gets my permission to sleep. Anyway, following that, I reset time because I need to return to the graveyard on the night of the first day. I then head to the graveyard at night. By using the captain's hat, I can talk to these stall children and get them to open this grave. Inside, I find a bunch of bats and some torches. I try to light them with fire arrows, but realise it's too dangerous and that I should use a deku stick. And because I reset time, I have to find another stick. I ended up just buying one just because it was easier. I return to the graveyard, light the torches, and then enter the next room. This room has an iron knuckle I need to defeat, and upon doing so, a composer named Flat will teach me the Song of Storms. I return to Ikana Canyon and head up to this cave. Inside, I play the Song of Storms, which ends up curing Sharp, the composer's brother, and the cave fills up with water. This water then makes the water wheel on the house begin to spin, apparently making the Gibdos outside constipated, and then they return to the earth. It's like me after KFC. I sneak into the house, like a sane person, and go downstairs where this man attacks me. I play the Song of Healing and free him from the curse, which gives me the Gibdo mask. Now I can enter the well up these slopes and talk to the Gibdos. They need certain things in order to let me past, and I couldn't for the life of me remember them ahead of time. So this section was a lot of going back and forth getting stuff. I did have to kill a big Poe for one of them, so there's that. All of this to get the mirror shield and also access the ancient castle of Ikana. Personally, some of the best music I've ever heard in a Zelda game. Just listen. Perfection. I make my way through the castle, fight another Wizrobe, and make my way to this hole in the ceiling. I use a powder keg I bought earlier to blow it up and re-enter the castle using the main entrance. I do this because the re-deads down that hole can be easily killed by the light of the mirror shield. Trust me, I accidentally did it many times and had to reset way too much. It was painful. I have to carefully Z-target and walk towards the light with my back towards this sunblock. Once it's opened, I have to then carefully walk back and I can finally fight King Eagle-Stu Ikana and his two lackeys. And these guys did not mess about, especially the king himself and his invincibility attack. For those who don't know, he will detach his head and make himself invincible. The only thing you can do is run away, but it's extremely hard to do, and if he catches you, he hits you with a bunch of damage. By using the Goro mask, I was able to avoid him long enough, but it was nowhere near an easy fight. But once again, these guys don't technically die, as they reappear as heads talking to Link, and so I'm inclined not to include them on this list. I know it's a bit of a cop-out, but I'm doing what I think is best. The king teaches me an elegy of emptiness, everyone's favourite song. Now I can head to Stone Tower. I make my way up the tower and use the song to pull these 3 blocks out and make a path for myself to access Stone Tower Temple. And Stone Tower Temple was also not messing about. Going through the first few rooms, I find myself having to kill 4 Armos in this lava pit in order to get the key in there in order to open this door. I use a Zora mask to get another key and then enter this room. I first thought this was going to be impossible as there's absolutely no time to charge these mirrors with the shield before the bows reach me. After an embarrassingly long time, I remembered that I had the stone mask. There's just not enough time, there's just not I'm an idiot. I'm actually an idiot. I make my way through this lava room using the Goron and Deku form. I then have to fight this Garo Master. Again, this is kind of a grey area because he blows himself up, but he literally says he does it to go out on his own terms, so the game said it, not me. Anyway, he gives me the light arrows. I then have to make it past this hip loop. I ended up using the Zora's mask to get some extra reach and just barely reach this ledge making it past. I do, however, need to kill this Igor, and there's absolutely no way to get past him. Actually, I don't. I literally had this thought as I'm writing the script, and if you use the Song of Soaring, you can return to the entrance of the temple and skip fighting him. So because of that, I'm going to take him off the list. I exit the dungeon and shoot this red jewel to turn the temple upside down. I maneuver my way through the upside down temple until I reach this room. This room has 2 choo-choos in it and a block which needs to be pushed onto this switch. I also have to use the light arrows to flip the room back and forth to keep pushing the block closer and closer. And I'm out of magic. And the only way to get more is to kill the choo-choos. Great. Well, off to buy a magic potion for the first time in my life. I come back and it turns out Link actually has just enough magic with a full meter to complete the room normally. Everything is pain! Luckily, there's a Wizrobe in the next room that I can vent all this anger into. And by vent, I mean violently punch. I make my way past these Poes and Death Armors. Ooh, so scary. to get a key. I then make my way through this door, along this corridor, and face yet another mini-boss. This is Gomez. Not sure what exactly it is, but oh well, it's dead. I now can get the boss key. I return to the entrance of the temple and hookshot onto this chest and enter this door. I then actually do have to kill an Igor to open this door behind him. He also gives me the giant mask. From there, it's a single room with a spike trap, and finally Twin Mold's boss room. Yes! Final arrow. Oh my god, I can't believe that. And final arrow. Last one. That, honestly, was my first try. It was insane. Also, like Ocarina of Time, I'm going to count these as 2 enemies instead of 1. I get their remains and can finally set my eyes on Skull Kid. But before that, I do some prep work. I get a fairy from Ikana Canyon, I get some Deku sticks, I also melt the ice in a smithy and get the blacksmith to make the razor sword. I then finally get the bottle from the beavers and use it to collect a second fairy, just in case. I then head to the laundry pool at night to get the Rema mask from this guy. I then fast forward to the 3rd day, collect the razor sword, and then go to Romani Ranch to get the bunny mask from this guy. I confront Skull Kid and the giants come to stop the raid. Then Majora reveals it's the Disney twist villain and goes into the moon to try and make it crash. I enter the moon myself, talk to this kid with the Majora's mask on, and start the final battle.
There we go, okay. Second phase. We've got to avoid these, which is going to be easier said than done. Ah, there goes one. There we go. Final bit. Scariest bit, to be honest, to me. Here we go. How? Some arrows in here? Yeah, there is. Okay, cool. This is why I brought the fairy. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there we go. Dead.
And that's it. That's Majora's Mask completed. So, did Ocarina of Time's little brother live up to its predecessor? Let's find out. In total, there were 6 bosses killed. There were 4 kills in Woodfall, 2 in Snowhead, 4 in Great Bay, and a whopping 13 in Ikana Canyon, giving us a grand total of 29 kills. Kinda underwhelming, huh? But even if we include the grey area kills, that only really gives us a total of 36. So not much more. I guess I should have expected this because it is a smaller game, and without doing all the side quests it felt very to the point. I barely had to kill any enemies out in the overworld, but also as a result I was very underpowered for a lot of the game. So in a way I kinda had an extra challenge on top of that. But anyway, that's it for this video. Is it what you expected? Let me know. Also, go and check out 2 Ship to Harkinian. Once again, they're doing amazing work by upgrading these timeless masterpieces. And if you enjoyed this video, please think about subscribing, as it will let me know you like this sort of thing. Thanks again to all of you who watched the first one, and if you still haven't watched it and you like this video, then I would definitely recommend you watch that one too. Okay, bye.